Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji's. Hare Krishna, Madhusudan Vishnu Prabhu. Thank you for joining.
Krishna.
Hari Hari. Very, very grateful that you've given your time, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji and Mataji's, we all know Madhusudan Vishnu Prabhu. Prabhuji has come twice already for giving some wonderful sessions. And it is told, I would like to say that it is told that when we go to Dham, we should go with a sadhu so that the Dham is seen through the sadhu's vision. Today, we are fortunate that we got the Dham also and the sadhu also together because Prabhuji is right now in Vrindavan and he has given us time to give this class. So we will hear Vrindavan Katha from Vrindavan from a sadhu in Vrindavan. So Prabhuji, this is very, very nice of you that in your busy schedule, I'm sure Yatra has everything planned every single day and you have taken your time out. That means you value us and you value, you want to give your time to us. This is straight mercy from Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara. Very, very grateful, Prabhuji. Let us welcome Madhusudan Vishnu Prabhu with three loud and enthusiastic Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji has chosen to give a topic today saying Narad Muni in Vrindavan. So it's a very wonderful topic. And I'm very eager to hear since the time you told the topic. So over to you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for giving your time. Your every minute is very precious for us.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, His Grace Leelanand Prabhu, for such a warm welcome and for the invitation to join this Sangha and take association of all the devotees. You rightly said that Vrindavan is a wonderful place, and but I'm not really a sadhu, so I'm in Vrindavan, that is true, and I'm going to speak on a topic related to Vrindavan, and you are going to hear about sadhu, Narad Muni in Vrindavan, but I am not really a sadhu, but what I am going to speak is the words of sadhu, from what I've heard from other sadhus, true sadhus, genuine sadhus. So I just communicate that, and thank you so much for this opportunity. It's wonderful to be in your association again, all the devotees of this Sangha. I'm very happy to be here. So as you know, I have chosen this topic, Narad Muni in Vrindavana. So that means we are going to share a lot of pastimes. But before we go to the pastimes, a little bit of understanding of Narad Muni also is important. It is related. So we will take a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, two verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, which has very short purports. So we'll read those verses, the purports, and then we'll go to our topic. Let's begin first of all by chanting the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We can chant together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasa Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtapaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishchake. Even the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Thapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitantam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangsha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani
Gauravani
Prachare
Pracharine
Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gautushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarur Bhyasha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Namaha
Namaha.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare, Hare
Hare Rama
Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama
Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Samaveta Gaura Bhaktavind ki jai, Shri Narad Muni ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai. And thank you so much everyone for joining in this session early morning. We are going to discuss on the topic Narada and Vrindavan, and the verse which I am going to take for today's discussion is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 12, verse 22 and 23. I hope you can see the verse on your screen.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So the chapter title is Creation of the Kumaras and Others by Lord Brahma. Let us recite this verse, a very beautiful verse. We'll recite both the verses, and then I'll ask one of you to read or let me do that because I'm also streaming it live on Facebook. So let me read the translation and purport. Marichiratri angiraso
Marichiratri Angirisau
Pulasya pulaha kratuhu
Pulasya Pulaha Kratuhu
Brigur Vashishto Dakshascha
Brigur Vasishto Dakshascha
Dashamastatra Naradaha.
Dasamastatra Naradaha.
So the translation is Marichi Atri Angira Pulastya Pulaha Kratu Brigu Vashishta Daksha, and the 10th son Narada was thus born. So Lord Brahma created these 10 sons. Of them, the last one is Narada. I'll quickly read the purport. The whole process of the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation is meant to give the conditioned souls a chance to go back home, back to Godhead. Brahma created Rudra to help him in his creative endeavor. But from the very beginning, Rudra began to devour the whole creation, and thus he had to be stopped from such devastating activities. Brahma therefore created another set of good children who were mostly in favor of worldly fruitive activities. He knew very well, however, that without devotional service to the Lord, there is hardly any benefit for the conditioned souls. And therefore, at last, he created his worthy son, Narada, who is the supreme spiritual master of all transcendentalists. Without devotional service to the Lord, one cannot make progress in any department of activity. Although the path of devotional service is always independent of anything material, only the transcendental loving service of the Lord can deliver the real goal of life, and thus the service rendered by Sriman Narada Muni is the highest among all the sons of Brahma. And the next verse, Narada was born from the deliberation of Brahma, which is the best part of the body. Vashishta was born from his breathing, Daksha from a thumb, Bhrigu from his touch, and Kratu from his hand. And in this purport, Prabhupada writes, Narada was born from the best deliberation of Brahma because Narada was able to deliver the Supreme Lord to anyone he liked. The Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be realized by any amount of Vedic knowledge or by any number of penances. But a pure devotee of the Lord, like Narada, can deliver the Supreme Lord by his goodwill. The very name Narada suggests that he can deliver the Supreme Lord. Nara means the Supreme Lord. Da means one who can deliver. That he can deliver the Supreme Lord does not mean that the Lord is like a commodity that can be delivered to any person. But Narada can deliver to anyone the transcendental loving service of the Lord as a servitor, friend, parent, or lover, as one may desire, out of one's own transcendental love for the Lord. In other words, it is Narada only who can deliver the path of Bhakti Yoga, the highest mystic means for attainment of the Supreme Lord. Such beautiful description about Narad Muni. Of course, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear about Narad Muni in many different places, in many different episodes, in so many different cantos he comes. So we know that Narada is a great sage. We know he's a great devotee. We know Narad Muni is a great preacher. In Gita, Lord Krishna says, amongst the sages, amongst demigods, he is Narada. That's why he's called Deva Rishi. He's a dear son of Brahma. And here Prabhupada says his name Narada means one who gives Narayan to others, devotional service to others. That is Narada. Though Narad Muni is such a great personality, so transcendental, but we see that often people misunderstand him. So many times we see that people consider Narad Muni simply a joker, a transcendental joker, a spiritual joker, who makes people laugh by his very mischievous activities, who puts quarrel between the demigods and the gods, right? Who spreads rumors around. He's a mischief monger, a quarrel maker. And that's why often it is seen that if any person is like this, who is interested in gossiping, backbiting, spreading rumors, people give that person a nickname. Oh, he's just like Narada. So in general, a common person understands Narada like that. Even I've seen in ISKCON when we perform a drama, many times people, they want to make the character of Narad Muni very funny. They say if the drama does not have any humor, then you add the character of Narad Muni and then there will be automatically humor in the drama. So that's how people look at Narada. They think Narada is like this. His one name is Kalaha Priya, someone who likes to create quarrels. Hmm. But is Narad Muni like that? Is he like that? No, he's not like that. Vaishnava Kriya Mudra Vikyena Pujai. Even a learned person cannot understand the activities of a Vaishnava. So today I'm going to discuss on two things. One, a lesson, very important lesson for us, of how we should look at the activities of a Vaishnava. And then why Narad Muni acted the way he acted to give us the different pastimes in relation to Sri Vrindavan Dham. Now, you see, let me share a pastime with you from the life of Srila Prabhupada. It's a very beautiful pastime. It comes in a book called Our Srila Prabhupada, a dear friend to all. I don't know how many of you have read this book. It's a beautiful book. If ever you happen to get a copy of this book, do get it and read it. It's written by a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Her name is Mula Prakriti Devi Mataji. And she has done a wonderful job. She interviewed Prabhupada's friends, god brothers, even some family members from the early life of Srila Prabhupada before Prabhupada went to the West and became famous. And that's why she is giving a very good glimpse into Prabhupada's life before he became a world famous Acharya, you know, from his very close friends and relatives. So in that book, she writes, she was interviewing two people from Vrindavan, Brajvasis. So one of these Brajvasis was saying, oh, Prabhupada, oh, he was such a dear friend of mine, and he was a great sadhu, and I knew so well that this person in future is going to take the process of bhakti, the science of Krishna consciousness all over the world. He's going to preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message all over the world. He was such a sadhu and never saw a sadhu like that in Vrindavan. So I was his friend and I know him from long time. At that time, another Vrajvasi was sitting there. And that Vrajvasi, he somehow chastised this person. He said, "You are a liar. You are telling lie." Then he said, "Actually, Mataji, let me tell you something. The truth is, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, when he used to be living amongst us in Vrindavan, we thought, what kind of crazy sadhu is he? He doesn't have proper clothes to wear. He is so old. And he's every day saying to us that he'll go to America and he'll preach in America and he'll preach the Western people the science of bhakti." We used to talk amongst ourselves that this person is seeing dreams with open eyes. He wants to do something no one has done. So what kind of sadhu is he? It seems he has gone crazy. He should just live in Vrindavan, be satisfied. Now he's old, in few years he's going to die. So be happy that if he leaves his body in Vrindavan, he's going to go back home, back to God. So then that Vrajvasi said, "Actually, Mataji, we never knew that this common man was walking amongst us is going to become a future Jagat Guru. We did not know. Now we know, but that time we did not know." Hmm? So bhakti is like this. No, it is something very special about bhakti. Bhakti is a very hidden energy of Krishna. Krishna has many energies. We know that. Hmm? There is a creative energy. There is a devastating energy. The person who is in charge of the creative energy is Lord Brahma. The person who is in charge of the devastating energy is Lord Shiva, right? The person who is in charge of maintaining everything is Lord Vishnu himself. But the energy called bhakti, the halatini potency of Krishna, the compassionate energy of Krishna, is very hidden. When someone possesses it, no one can understand that actually that person has it, because it is not seen on external platform. It is something very internal within the heart. And we cannot know who is who. Like Srila Prabhupada, if we read that book, we can understand he was a pure devotee, he was an acharya even before he left India, even before he spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. He was actually a very advanced devotee. But no one was able to see that. No one was able to realize that. Only when it manifested externally in the form of ISKCON movement, thousands of disciples, followers, fame and name, then people realized, oh, Bhaktivedanta Swami is great. Before that, no one realized his greatness. Hmm. So this is a lesson for each one of us, that bhakti is a very confidential, very hidden thing. It is sometimes very difficult to trace who has bhakti and who does not have bhakti. It is subtle and sublime, and it's an internal affair, not an external thing. So when we are going to look at the activities of Narad Muni, we should look with this understanding, that what he does externally might look like mundane, but internally it is for the pleasure of Supreme Lord. So bhakti is so simple that we can easily miss it when it comes to Narada or any other great devotee. That's the secret about bhakti. Very, very, very hidden potency. It is. And it's very powerful. Now, a few days back, when I was in ISKCON Miraru temple, I was giving Srimad Bhagavatam class. So there I asked this question. Let's say a person becomes a multi-millionaire in this world, or let's say a multi-billionaire. Immediately there will be a news about that person in the newspaper, in the TV channel, that this person has done something great, something wonderful. Someone becomes an Indian idol or American idol. Someone wins some game. Someone wins some medals in Olympics. Someone gives a wonderful speech or something like that. They become popular. But we never get a news that this person today left his body and went back home, back to God. It never becomes a highlight in the newspaper, in the media, never. But that's the best news and the most wonderful news, actually, that someone, after millions and millions and millions of births living in this material world, became finally successful and went back to God. But that news never comes to anyone's notice. Why? Because bhakti is like that. It remains hidden, so much hidden. And only those who are true devotees, they can find who is a true devotee and what is true bhakti. So Narad Muni, though he does all these mischievous things and confusing things, the reason is pleasure of the Supreme Lord. I'll tell you a story. Now, today is a day of stories, not so much philosophy. So once Narad Muni, he was entertaining the Supreme Lord in Vaikuntha. He was telling Lord Vishnu some jokes, some stories, kind of amuse the Supreme Lord. So one day he thought, let me make the Supreme Lord laugh. And he started telling about his own mischievous pranks. He said, my dear Lord, do you know? Actually, it was me who made Lord Shiva and Daksha fight. And Vishnu said, how? So he said, actually I went to Daksha and I told Daksha, Daksha, Lord Shiva, though he is your son-in-law, but in your absence, he rebukes you. He talks ill of you. He says Daksha is just a karma kandi. He's interested in fruitive enjoyment. So like that, though he's your son-in-law, he should be very respectful to you. But he does that. He ridicules you. And when Daksha heard this, became so angry and he said, my son-in-law, and he's talking like this. And then all that fight and confusion between Daksha and Shiva began. And we study about that in Srimad Bhagavatam. So he said to Lord Vishnu, Narad Muni said, it was me who started that. So Lord Vishnu was thinking, Narada, why did you do that? There's so much of confusion. He said, my Lord, let me tell you another incident now. So then he says, actually, once I met Sri Devi jealous of Bhudevi. And Vishnu was laughing. Yes, yes, I know that. And it creates such a scenario. And then he said, I'll tell you one more thing, Lord. Kansa, he was such a nice person. When he heard the voice from the sky that Devaki's son is going to kill you, and Vasudev made a promise, I'm going to bring my child personally to you. Kansa actually left Devaki and Vasudev. They said, okay, no problem. You go, you live very happily in your own house. And when the eighth child is born, Vasudev is going to bring him to me because Vasudev is a very, very truthful person. He never lies. So Kamsa had left them alone. But Narada came and Narada played a game with Kansa. He said, Kansa, don't you know that Vishnu is a very tricky person? Vishnu can do anything. For Vishnu, number 8 can become number 1. Number 1 can become number 4. He can do anything. And he's your enemy. He's your sworn enemy. So don't trust Vishnu. Don't trust the demigods. Then he told his past that he was a demon named Kalnemi and he should immediately do something in order to kill this child. That made Kansa very, very angry. And Kansa said, Narad Muni, that's why I understood, that one should have a spiritual master because having a spiritual master brings us a lot of benefit. You are such a nice guru. You are such a nice person. We know then what happened. Kansa put Vasudeva and Devaki in prison, right? After hearing this. Before that, he was okay. Then even Ravana, of course, his head was always in the sky, in the air, and he thought himself great. But it was Narada who went and told Ravana, Ravana, you are not just great, you are the greatest of all. You are even greater than demigods, you are greater than all the personalities. So who is Ram in front of you? Ram is nothing. So by this, in this way, making Ravana very proud and puffed up, he made Ravana think, I am God, I can do anything. So Lord Vishnu finally asked Narada, I know what all you have done, but why do you do all this? So Narada said, do what, my dear Lord? He said, do all this. I mean, all this so much of nonsense brings so much of trouble in people's lives. So Narada said, I don't do anything, my dear Lord. I just merely test these people's faith in you by playing these pranks, by doing all these mischievous things, by creating confusion. I'm just testing how tolerant they are, how much faith they have in you, how much are they devoted to you? Are they really devotees? Are they interested in sense enjoyment? They're interested in name and fame. They're interested in material powers. What are they? So just to test their element, what are they? I do all these things. And the reality comes out. And whatever I do is just to make your pastimes happen quickly. I instigated Kamsa because I wanted you to come soon. I instigated Ravana because I wanted you to kill Ravana before the, the time, right? So in this way, I do so many things only to benefit the devotees and cheat the demons. This is why I do. So you know why I do that. And then the Lord started laughing. He burst out laughing. He said, yes, Narada, only a rare person can understand your mischievous things. But whatever you do is just to expose people, whether they are devotees or not, to expose the lust in them, the anger in them, the greed in them, the pride in them, the envy in them. And in this way, you make the reality of pure devotional service shine in front of everyone. What is pure devotional service? What it is? Hmm. So now when we come to Vrindavan, pastimes of Narad Muni, I'll tell you 5 pastimes from Vrindavan. Hmm. And some of these you might have heard, some of these you might not have heard, but never mind. They're always sweet. We can hear them again and again. So the reason here in these pastimes, the purpose, the message is that Narad Muni is trying to reveal to us how Vrindavan is the most special place. Vaikunta is great, but Vrindavan is more special, most special, even in Vaikunta, in the realm of spiritual world. Vrindavan is that's why called Maha Vaikunta, great Vaikunta. Why? Because the Supreme Personality of Krishna resides there. And the devotees with spontaneous feelings towards Krishna, they serve Krishna. In a raga, raga means spontaneous love. So in the mood of raga, they serve Krishna. In Vaikuntha, devotees serve Lord Vishnu, but they have a lot of respect for Lord Vishnu. There's a lot of awe and reverence. Things are so much about rules and regulations. It has to be done like this, like that. But in Vrindavan, it's not like that. It's spontaneous, just overflowing from the heart. And Krishna relishes like that, like anything. So Narad Muni, in order to show that glory of Vrindavan, he does all these things. Now there are different pastimes of Narad Muni associated with different personalities, but the message is this: that Vrindavan is greater than even Mathura, Dwarka, what to speak of Vaikuntha. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said a very beautiful verse. It comes in Chaitanya Manjusha. It's the opinion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that is given in this verse. So that is the crux of all the teachings of Mahaprabhu. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesh Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavadu Vargena Ya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatradharana Paraha. This verse says, Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesh Tanaya. I worship whom? Bhagavan Vrajesh, the Lord of Vraja is Nanda Maharaj. And Tanaya means son. So I worship the son of Nanda Maharaj. And what else? Tadhama Vrindavana. I worship Vrindavan Dham. It's a very special place. And whom else do you worship? What else do you worship? He says, the mood in which the gopis love Krishna. Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavadhu. The gopis, the vadhus of Vraja, they worship Krishna. That I worship. I worship that worship they do. Their mood, I worship that. And I consider the Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Purana. This is the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is no greater opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we come to know about that, how Vrindavan is special. So special, so very special. What is the mood in Vrindavan? The mood is let Krishna be happy. It doesn't matter whether I am happy or not happy. Let Krishna be happy. So there's a story in a book, Mathura Meets Vrindavan. It's a book written by Sri Srimad Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj. Very beautiful book. If happen to get a copy of it, please to read this book. It's very sweet. So there, this pastime is given, and I'm sure you all must have heard this pastime. That once Krishna was in Dwarka, and he was having a fever. Of course, how can Krishna have a fever? Difficult to understand, but he had a fever. So he was, someone is feverish, then we know how does that person look. Narad Muni came there, my dear Lord, Everything is all right. Is it okay? She said, Narada, I am having a fever. And I said, oh, you have a fever? So what is the medicine? Tell me, I'll go and bring the medicine. And Krishna says, the medicine of this world is not going to cure my fever. I need a very special medicine. I said, what is that medicine, my dear Lord? So now Krishna said, I want the dust from the feet of my pure devotees. If I get that dust, I'm going to apply that dust as a lepa. You know what is lepa? You mix the dust with some water and then you make a lepa, right? And I'm going to apply that lepa all over my body, and then my body will cool down. In this way, I'll become relieved from this fever. And Narada said, what is this? I mean, who is going to give you dust? Which devotee is going to give you dust? That is against the etiquette. Of course, I will not do that. So let me try to find out who else can do that. So Narada thought, the person who is most dear, to the husband is the wife. And to the wife, the person most dear is the husband. So let me go to Rukmini, let me go to Satyabhama, Jambavati, and ask them, will you give me some dust from your feet so that I can apply some lap on Krishna's head and body? He can be cured. And he went and he asked the queens, please, some medicine. The queen says, what? Dust from my feet? Do you want me to go to hell, Narad Muni? He's my husband. How can I put the dust of my feet on my husband's body or his head? Come on. Even in the wildest of my dreams, I cannot do that. Cannot do that. I'm sorry. Narad Muni traveled everywhere to find someone who will be ready to do this. He could not find. No one was ready. Why? Because there was fear. There was this understanding. Krishna is God, and I should be respectful towards Krishna. I should worship Krishna. While worshiping Krishna, nothing wrong should happen to me. That was also there, right? Now, when Narad comes to the abode of Vrindavan, there he meets the gopis, and the gopis ask Narada, how is Krishna? What is he doing? Long time we have not met Krishna. Is he all right? And Narada said, no, he's not all right. Why? What happened? He's having fever. He's having fever. He's into trouble. So the gopi said, oh, Krishna is having fever. How can we help Krishna? How can we serve Krishna? So Narada said, he needs simple medicine. And that medicine, he wants the dust of the feet of his devotees. The gopi said, just that? Only that much? I said, yeah, only that much. So they said, okay, no problem. Immediately bring some sacks, Narad Muni, bring some sacks. We'll give you so much dust. So the gopis, whatever dust they have on their feet, they removed that. And more than that, the acharyas explained, they were jumping on the dust of Raja, and they're saying, Narada, so much dust, so much dust. Take as much as you like. Take sacks and sacks. And one gopi was coming, no, you come here. Another gopi was coming, no, you come here. Third gopi was saying, no, you come here. Take dust of my feet. And Narada was thinking, are these crazy? Are these people crazy? He asked the gopis later, don't you fear going to hell? Don't you fear? Are you not afraid? And the gopi says, if we need to go to hell, we will go to hell. If Krishna is happy, if Krishna is pleased, if Krishna is satisfied, his fever is cured, we will go to hell. That's okay, no problem. So this is the highest stage of love, highest stage of love, which means you do everything for the beloved and in return you don't want anything. In fact, what to speak of not wanting anything, you are ready to accept troubles. You are ready to accept problems. You're ready to accept hurdles in life, challenges, for the pleasure of the beloved. Now, this is something very special, and we should understand this thing. It is related to our sampradaya. We all are associated with ISKCON, and we have accepted Srila Prabhupada as our principal acharya. So this is the mood of the devotees in ISKCON, or this should be the mood of devotees in ISKCON. You see, bhakti is of different types. Bhakti is a big arena, big arena. And in different sampradayas, different moods of bhakti are taught. Bhakti is not the same. To a layman, it sounds the same and looks the same. Oh, we all worship Krishna. We all worship Lord Vishnu. It's just the same. There's no difference. But there are very subtle differences, very, very subtle differences. And these differences are in the mood, the approach, how I want to serve Krishna. What is my mood of service to Krishna? So when we get associated with the sampradaya, it's not just that we get a mantra. Along with the mantra, we get a mood. Uh, in this Padma Purana, there is a verse. If you don't accept a mantra from a sampradaya, that mantra is nishphala. It will not give us a fruit. So people then sometimes get confused. What do you mean? If I am chanting God's name, will I get no benefit? So we think nishphala means no benefit. But actually, nishphala, what it means is you'll get some benefit, but you will not get the benefit that sampradaya is going to give to you. You will get some benefit, but you'll not get that benefit which that sampradaya is going to give to you. And what is that sampradaya going to give to you? That sampradaya is going to give you a particular mood of worship, a particular bhav, a particular sentiment. So the sentiment that is taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, let Krishna be happy. And while giving happiness to Krishna, if I need to suffer, let me suffer also. No problem. That's the mood, and that's the highest level of love. That's the highest level of love. So the gopis are exhibiting that. And this is something more special about Vrindavan. This is something more special about Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So here, Narada, through this pastime, showed us that. Now, let us go to another pastime. That Narada once was visiting Vrindavan, and he saw a gopi was sitting alone, eyes closed, sitting in an asana, Padma asana, neck, back, face, all straight in one line. And she is meditating. And Narada said, am I in a wrong place? I'm in Vrindavan. Who meditates in Vrindavan? No one meditates in Vrindavan. If you want to meditate, go to Badrinath, go to the Himalayas. You are meditating in Vrindavan. Wrong place. And then furthermore, who is meditating? A gopi is meditating. Why is a gopi meditating? What's the purpose behind a gopi meditating? So Narada said, my dear gopi, do you mind me asking you this question? Why are you meditating? And upon whom are you meditating? You already have what the meditators, the yogis want. What they want, you already have, right? What the yogis want. Dhyayato, they want to see the form of the Lord or the lotus feet of the Lord in their concentration, in samadhi. That's what they want to see. And you already see that Lord with your eyes in front of you. So what do you want? What are you meditating upon? And then Gopi said, oh, Narada Muni, you won't understand. And Narada said, no, explain to me, I'll understand. So then Gopi said, you see, the problem is this person called Krishna. Whenever I get a thought of him, I become stunned like a pillar. Even if I don't see him, when I am brooming my house and the black dust, it starts to rise in the air, I see that dust and I become stunned. And I just stand there like a statue with the broom in my hand. And for half an hour, 1 hour, I'm just standing there. And my mother-in-law, she comes and then she looks at me and she says, this lady has gone crazy. I don't know why we got this lady, our son married to this lady. She is crazy. She, while grooming, she goes into, I don't know which place, and she's just standing like that. So she rebukes me. Then when I'm making chapatis and I put the chapati on the flame, sometimes there's some black spot on the chapati. And when I see that black spot, I start thinking of Krishna. And when I think of Krishna, I forget the chapati, and then the chapati gets burnt. Then my husband, he shouts at me, what kind of woman you are? You don't know how to make chapatis also. So my life has become a mess. And why so? Because of this fellow called Krishna. I see anything black, I'm reminded of this person. In my dream, he comes, he steals away my cows. In my dream, he comes, if I put my child to sleep, this person comes and wakes up my child. And if I am making butter, this person comes and steals the butter. And I do such things. I I speak, I you know, sleep with eyes open, and I do such things, and people call me crazy. So what I am doing is, Narad Muni, I'm sitting here meditating on what? I'm trying to forget Krishna. That is my meditation. I'm trying to forget this person. And now we said, this is strange. There is a place where people are meditating to remember Krishna, and you are meditating to forget Krishna, you know, which is difficult for them. So Narada was amused. Anyone who meets the gopis become amused. Uddhava became amused. Anyone who meets the gopis. What are these gopis? What is their love? How do they think? Hmm. So in relation to this, now we know Krishna comes in every day of Brahma, and Narad Muni happens to see all these pastimes again and again and again and again and again and again. So now this happened in another day of Brahma, that Narad Muni came to know Krishna is going to come soon, and Krishna is going to manifest his beautiful pastimes in Vrindavan. Hmm. So he was prepared. He is an astrologer. He has his astrological calculator, so he knows when Krishna is going to take birth. So he came to know Krishna took birth, and he took darshan of Krishna. Then he knew another very special person is going to come now after 15 days of Krishna's appearance, on the same tithi as Ashtami. So he knew who that person is, the divine consort of Krishna, Srimati Radharani. So his calculation was there that today she appeared. And after a few days, he wanted to go and meet, have darshan of Srimati Radharani, Radhika. So this time, as always it happens, Radharani takes birth as a daughter of a particular person whose name is Vishabhanu. Vishabhanu is the father of Radharani, and Kirtida is the mother of Radharani. So, can someone please mute this devotee, Dipesh Sharma? Whoever.
Sorry, Prabhuji, can you unmute yourself by mistake?
Oh, okay. So Narad Muni, he thought, let me go and take darshan of Srimati Radharani. He came to know that Vrishabhanu Maharaj was in Raval. You all know this, right? Vrishabhanu Maharaj was also a king. Nand Baba was also a king. And they both were kings of whom? The cowherd people who used to take care of cows. So Vrishabhanu Maharaj was also moving places, like Nand Baba was moving places. We know Nand Baba stayed at different places, right? Sometimes in Gokul, sometimes in Nandagaon, sometimes in Chatikara, Vrindavana. Likewise, Vrishabhanu Maharaj also with his entire family and all the whole village, they were in Raval first. Then they moved to Varshana. Varshana. So Vrishabhanu Maharaj did not have a child. He did not have a child, and he wanted a child. So one day when he went for Yamuna Snan, he saw a very, very beautiful lotus flower, 1,000-petal lotus flower. And when that lotus flower was coming close to him, coming close to him, and then he saw in the middle of that lotus flower, there was a baby, so beautiful, golden in color, mm, almost like a goddess. And Vishwabhanu Maharaj said, this is blessing of the demigods. I wanted a child, and a child has come. He lifted up that girl and took that girl home and showed it to his wife Kirtida. Kirtida. From the Kirtida has another name, right? Kirtika, right? And the son of Kirtika is called Kartik, and on that way we have the month of Kartik, which is the dearest month of Srimati Radharani. So Kartik comes from Kirtika. Kirtika is another name of Kirtida. That's how this name is of Srimati Radharani. So Vrishabhanu Maharaj, he gave this daughter to Kirtida and said, we got a daughter. They became so happy. But there was a problem. This daughter, she did not speak, she did not see, she did not hear. Her eyes were closed, her mouth was closed, and of course, maybe her ears were also closed. She was deaf, dumb, blind, and they were very sad. Why they were sad? They were not sad that they got such a child. They were sad that she's such a beautiful child. Why is she deaf? Why is she dumb? So they were sad for the child, not for themselves. They're sad for the child. That if she could speak and she could see, then she would be the most beautiful girl in this whole planet. Mm. So then they were little sad, and they used to always feel sad about this. One day Narad Muni visited them. Vrishabhanu Maharaj welcomed Narad Muni, very warm welcome, gave him an elevated seat, washed his feet, and then asked Narad Muni how he could serve Narad Muni. So Narad Muni said,
स्पीकर तो चलना है।
Maharaj, I think you recently got a child. I came to know that. So Vrishabhanu Maharaj was little hesitant to tell Narada that he had this girl child who could not see, could not hear, could not speak. He was a little ashamed. So he said, yes, I have a child and he's a boy. So his great Deen Bandhu Prabhu is a very sweet teller of Vrindavan pastime. He says, Narad Muni took out his calculator at that time, his transcendental calculator. And he said, my calculator shows there's a girl and you say there's a boy. How is it possible? I'm seeing here there's a girl and you say there's a boy. So he said, okay, bring the boy. Now that boy is Sridama. So Vrishabhanu Maharaj brought that boy and Narad Muni gave a lot of blessings to that boy. Then Narad Muni said, are you sure there's no girl child? You don't have any girl child? So Vrishabhanu Maharaj, that time his ministers told him, Maharaj, he's Narada. Don't try to hide things from him. He's a great sage. And and great sages they have great powers. You don't know, he can do a magic and maybe your girl child can begin to see, talk, do everything what a child does. So then Vrishabhanu Maharaj said, yes, Narad Muni, I'm sorry. Actually, I told you a lie. I have a girl child also. So can you please bless her? Now I said, oh yes, I will definitely bless her. So, but why you did not want to show her to me? Then he said, I don't know, she is born blind. She does not cry. She does not look. She does not do anything. So we are worried about her. We are concerned. Now I said, oh, this is special case, Maharaj. And for this purpose, we need to do some puja of this girl. So what you do, you take me to the place where the girl is. And then after that, I'll do some chanting of mantras, this and that. Meanwhile, you go and bring some articles. So then he told Vrishabhanu Maharaj, you bring some chandan, some camphor, some flowers and all this stuff. And then he said, meanwhile, I'll do some puja and I'm sure your child will be all right. So Narad Muni wanted some private time with that girl. So he went into the chamber where the girl was and sent Vrishabhanu Maharaj away, said, no one should be here. I'm going to do something in which no one should be present, And so they all said, okay, let it be so. And when then everyone left, Narada got the chance. This girl is there in front of him. And he started speaking beautiful prayers to that girl because that girl is Srimati Radharani. He knows who is she. So he started speaking beautiful prayers. And it said at that time, that girl, that baby girl, showed her Keshori Roop, her eternal Keshori form of 15 to 16 years old to Narad Muni. Beautiful form, beautiful form. And when Narada saw that beautiful form, he just fainted. He just fainted. He could not speak anything. He was standing up, looking at that form, fainting again. Then again, standing up, looking at that form, falling again. Standing up, looking at that form, falling again. He was so wonderstruck, so amazed. Just imagine who is Radharani? She is someone who attracts Krishna. So how beautiful Srimati Radharani is. And anyone who would see Radharani, this would happen with that person naturally. So then Narad Muni was blessed by Radharani at that time. And Radharani told Narad Muni that you are a very special devotee. And your mode of worship is you worship the Supreme Lord with some awe and reverence. But this time I want to give you a promotion. I also want to give you this Vrindavan mood of worship. So Narad Muni, you leave this place and you immediately go to Kusum Sarovar. I don't know how many of you have been to Vrindavan and how many of you have done Govardhan Parikrama. In Govardhan, there are many sarovars or kundas. So one of them is Kusum Sarovar, a beautiful sarovar, one of the biggest in Govardhan. Very beautiful. So Narad Muni said, you go to Kusum Sarovar, and what will happen next will be revealed to you there. So Narad Muni, he bowed down to Srimati Radharani there and left from there. Now he was, I mean, so much in bliss. He was jumping with joy. So just a second, someone is knocking on my door. I'll quickly check who is that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. So this is almost like Kartik Yatra in the month of Kartik with Prabhuji to different parts of Vrindavan. I'm sure you all are relishing. I'm especially enjoying the pastimes of Narad Muni. If you all are enjoying, let's say loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh, wait a second. I have removed the option of muting. Now you can say Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol,
Hari Bol.
So
Hari Bol,
very nice.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji must be back anytime now. But this is a great fortune that Prabhupada has created this amazing society, which is filled with amazing sadhus who can bring Krishna wherever we are, and wherever they are, they can bring Krishna. And
Goosebumps are coming, Prabhuji, but the way he explains, really,
I know. See, I can say that that's all happening because he has a tremendous grace of his own spiritual master. Unless the guru is pleased, the disciple cannot speak anything. And that is a parampara, right? So we are fortunate to have Prabhuji here again. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
I'm sorry, actually, someone was not.
No problem, no problem.
So we resume. I'm sorry. So we were speaking about this pastime. So then Narad Muni, he was so much into bliss. I mean, he was tasting that nectar. And he was again and again falling and rising and falling. He has to go to Kusum Sarovar. He knows the way, but he was in a drunken state. Now you all must have seen a drunken fellow, how a drunken person is. I mean, when a drunkard walks, we can know this person is drunk. He goes sometimes left, sometimes right, sometimes stooping down. So that was the situation of Narada. He was falling and rising, sometimes going left, right, and somehow by transcendental potency of Krishna, he reached Kusum Sarovar. He made it. When he came to Kusum Sarovar, that in that place he met two very beautiful ladies. One of their name was Madhavi and the other's name was Vrinda. They were gopis. And they invited Narad Muni. He said, welcome, and Narad Muni, welcome. Who does not know you? So it seems you have been blessed by Srimati Radharani that she wants to give you Raja Bhav. She wants you to taste that. So Narad Muni said, yes, I am all ready. She said, no, you are not yet ready. You are not yet ready because you have this form. In this form, you cannot taste Vrindavan Bhav. So we have to give you a special form. You must get a form of a gopi. So then Narad said, how do you do that now? So they said, don't worry, we have all this magic with us. So then they took Narada, and in that Sarovar on the southeast direction, they told Narad Muni, you dip here. As soon as you dip here, when you come out, you will be a different person. So when Narad Muni dipped in that place, now let me tell you how it works. Some of us might be thinking, oh, this is far out. How can you dip in a place and you become a particular person? But the idea is, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam eveti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever thoughts we have, that is what actually produces our body. The kind of body I have is a product of my thoughts, my desires. So when Narada Muni dipped in that Sarovara, he dipped with this desire. I want to have a form which is qualified, capable of worshipping Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan Bhav. So because he had that desire, that Kunda fulfilled that desire. This is the speciality of all the sarovars and kundas in Vrindavan. When we touch their water, when we bathe in them, whatever is going on in our mind, because we ask them, they give it to us. So we have to be very, very careful. That's why when we are around such powerful places, because whatever is in our mind, it will be given. If it is good for us, it will be given. If it's not so good for our spiritual life, still it will be given. So Narad Muni, when he dipped in that, he had this desire, I want to experience this. So immediately when he came out, he was having a gopi form. And that gopi was called by these two gopis as Naradiya Gopi. He gave the name Naradiya Gopi. And he said, Narad Muni, now you are ready. Now you are ready. So then at that time, now again, very interesting explanation is given. Some of you have been to Kusum Sarovar, you must have seen. It's a beautiful pond, but we don't see much there. We just see there's a Sarovara. It's explained, we don't see the other things because our eyes are not qualified. In that Sarovara, in that Kusum Sarovar, there are bridges made up of jewels on top of that Sarovar. And you can go from one end of the Sarovar to the other end of the Sarovar through these bridges. So all these bridges, they come to a central spot in the Sarovara. That spot is like an arena in between the pond where Radha Krishna is worshipped. So we don't see all this with our material eyes, but it is there. It's present in unmanifest way. So Narad Muni was held by the hand by these two gopis, and then they took him through a bridge to the center of that place. So we sing this song, Vrindavana Ramya Sthan Divya Chintamani Dham Ratana Mandira Manohara. There's a verse there. Tar Madhe Hema Pitha Ashta Dale Veshatita Tar Madhe Sundara Naika. So there's a place in the center which is called Hemapita. Hemapita means where Lord Krishna and Srimati Radha meet and they worship. So in Vrindavan there are many Hemapitas, many places of union, and Kusum Sarovar is one such place in the middle of that Sarovar. So Narad Muni was taken there by the hands, and then when Narad Muni reached there, Lalita Sakhi, she invited Naradiya Gopi. And he said, Naradiya, I will give you a very special service. What is that service? They gave her a chamara. And they said, now you get the opportunity to do chamara to Radha and Krishna. So then Naradiya Gopi, she took that chamara and she was doing this chamara to Radha and Krishna. Such a beautiful thing to do. I mean, you can look at Krishna, Radharani and just do the chamara. And she was doing it for long time. And she's bursting with joy. And then her time was up. So Lalita Sakhi came and said, now time up. That's all you deserve for today. So now we take back this chamara from you and we take back this form from you. Now you need to leave. So with a very sad, but at the same time with a lot of gratitude, that Gopi left, walked over the bridge, came again to the southeast corner, and Vrinda Devi and Madhavi dipped Naradiya Gopi in the water, and then came out Narad Muni again. And then Vrinda Devi and Madhavi told Narad Muni, you have been given a glimpse of the most special type of worship. You are famous throughout the world as a preacher of Krishna consciousness, preacher of bhakti. So what you do now, you live in Vrindavan, you stay here, and you write literatures to describe bhakti. Okay, so that Kusum Sarovar, that place where we visit, if you just walk a little ahead of that, maybe 50 meters, on the left side, there is a small gully, small street that goes inside. So when we go there, when we walk inside, maybe 50 meters, 80 meters further down, there is a kund called Narada Kund. Sometimes in future, if you visit Vrindavan, do go there. And there's a temple of Narad Muni there. Narada Kund and Narad Muni's temple. It's called Narada Vana or Narada Ashram. So that's where Narada always lives in Vrindavan. Though Narada is cursed by Daksha, you cannot stay at one place for long time. But because Vrindavan is out of the material world, there's no curse applied there in Vrindavan. So Narad Muni could stay there and he composed beautiful writings One of them is Narad Bhakti Sutra, which we have in ISKCON. Narad Bhakti Sutra. It's available, a beautiful book, small sutras, but beautifully defining bhakti, describing bhakti. Then Narad Muni also wrote another book there, which is called Pancharatri Ki Vidhi for worshipping Radha and Krishna. So the deity worship we do for Radha and Krishna, that manual, the procedure, the Pancharatri Ki Vidhi is given by Narad Muni. How to worship Radha and Krishna. Many contributions. If you have heard of Garga Sanghita, beautiful descriptions of Vrindavan pastimes by Garga Muni, very beautiful. They were actually spoken by Narad Muni to Garga Muni and he wrote it down. So Narad Muni has given such wonderful contributions, staying there in Vrindavan, in that place, glorifying Vrindavan. So in this way, he also became a gopi. Got that mercy. And the last pastime for today. This is my most favorite pastime. And I'm a bit miser in sharing this. Only in special occasions when I feel inspired, then I share this pastime. So today I thought I'll share this pastime. It's a very beautiful, very sweet pastime. So how it is, it goes like this. I hope you are all attentively hearing. One day, Indra in heaven, he was sitting with his hand on his head like this. Very, very, very disappointed and sad. And Narad Muni visited and said, Indra, what happened? What is the problem? Some fight is going to begin. Someone is eyeing on your chair. Is there something wrong? And Indra said, no material problem this time, no material problem. So Narad Muni said, which problem? It's a spiritual problem. So I said, what spiritual problem? He said, I am so unfortunate. I am such an abhaga. Such a stupid person. I did not know Krishna is God. And when I came to know Krishna is God, Krishna had finished his childhood pastimes. So I am such a foolish person. I missed to see Krishna's pastimes as a baby. Now Krishna's childhood pastimes are very rare. Krishna does not perform these pastimes even in Golok Vrindavan, because in Golok Vrindavan is always 16 years old. So only when he comes to Bhauma Vrindavan, he performs these very sweet pastimes of crawling and stealing butter and the Damodar Leela and all that stuff. And Indra said, when I realized that Krishna is God, that God had finished his baby pastimes. You all know this. When did Indra realize Krishna is God? After Govardhan Leela, isn't it? He came to his senses. And that time Krishna was already 7-8 years old. So Indra said, I am so unfortunate. And in those days, interestingly, we never had this video cameras that you could shoot and record, nothing like that. So Indra said, it's gone now. It's all gone. So how do I see? So Narad said, Indra, are you serious? Do you want to see Krishna's baby pastime? Indra said, yes. Can you show? And Narada just said, wait and watch. I'll do something for you. I'll create a magic for you. And Indra was so happy. He knew Narada can do anything. So then Narada said, let me just go and create a scene. And when it's right, the stage is set, then I'll invite you. You come down from your heaven and I'll show you Krishna's baby pastime. Indra said, okay, done. So now Narada goes straight to Dwaraka and he goes to the palace of Devaki. He meets Devaki and Vasudeva. And he tells Devaki, Devaki, do you know you have forgotten something? Do you know? And Devaki said, what did I forget? Narad Muni, please tell, what did I forget? She said, you had made a promise and you forgot to fulfill that promise. Do you know, Devaki? And you know, if you don't fulfill that promise, it might bring a danger to Krishna's life. And as soon as Devaki heard that, she was, so much worried that Krishna's life will be in danger. Narada, please tell, what did I forget to do? And Narada said, Devaki, when Kamsa killed your 6 sons, that time you had made a vow, you had made a promise that if your 8th child will remain alive, then you'll do a big sacrifice to please the demigods. Sometimes mothers, they do such kind of vows, when the child, their few children, they die, then they make a vow. They say to Mother Durga, if you keep this child alive, then I'll do this special puja, or I'll do this, I'll do that. So they make such kind of vows. So Devaki had made this vow that if my 8th son remains alive, then I'm going to do a special yajna. But she forgot. She forgot. So Narada Muni said, if you don't do this yajna, then maybe Krishna's life will be in danger. So Devaki said, Narad Muni is so much thankful to you. You told us this. Now, can I do yagya now? Narad Muni said, yes, no problem. Do it now. It's late, but better than doing it never. So let's arrange for a yagya. It should be a big yagya, huge sacrifice, and you should do in a special place called Prabhas Kshetra. Prabhas Kshetra is near Dwarka in Gujarat, very holy place. So you should perform this yagya there, and you should invite people from far, far away. So Devaki said, done. Immediately, order given that there should be a yagya, and Krishna will be sitting in that yagya and personally doing the ahuti and all that. So news was sent, arrangements was being done, and then Devaki said, Narad Muni, we have one task which I think only you can do. Narad Muni said, what? He said, you are a transcendental spaceman. You can walk anywhere. I mean, all the doors get open for you. There is no limit, restrictions on where you can go, where you cannot go. So can you do the job of sending out invitations? You know, invite people to our religious function. So you invite everyone. You go here, invite them, there. So many places. At that place, at that time, there were two crooked ladies also were standing, and these two crooked ladies were Kamsa's mother and sister. So these crooked ladies, they said, Narada, we have one point to make, and Devaki, you will not tell anything, you'll keep your mouth shut. So Devaki said, okay. So this mother of Kamsa, she said, you go everywhere to invite everyone, but you don't go to one place. I said, which place? You are not going to go to Vrindavan. People in Vrindavan should not come to know about this sacrifice. We don't want Vrindavan people to come here. And I said, what wrong did they do? I mean, what is their crime? So Kamsa's mother said, these Vrindavan people are crazy. They don't know how to take care of Krishna. We gave them Krishna for a few years, but what did they do with our Krishna? They sent Krishna to forest. Hare Krishna is a king, is the son of a king, is a prince, and you send the prince to the forest to graze cows. So these people are, they don't know. They did not put slippers on Krishna's feet. Krishna is a prince. When he went to the forest, there should have been an umbrella on his head. They did not give an umbrella, and they did not even feed him properly. And because of that, our Krishna had to steal from others' house. So no, these people, they don't know how to take care of Krishna. We don't want them here. They were not taking good care of Krishna. So Narad Muni said, okay, no problem. I'll not invite them. Narad Muni left from there. And the first place he went to invite people was Vrindavan. First place, right? So he went there and he came there. And when Narad Muni came, Mother Yashoda, Nand Baba, everyone, Narada, are you coming from Dwarka? How is Krishna? What is he doing? Does he remember us or has he forgotten us? So at that time Narad Muni said, actually, yes, I'm coming from Dwarka, but Krishna, he does not remember you all. He never talks about you. So Mother Yashoda, when she heard it, Narada, are you serious? Krishna does not remember us? No, he does not remember us. In fact, Krishna is doing a big yagya this time. Do you know? Do you know? And Mother Yashoda and Nand Baba said, no, we don't know. So he said, you see, if he loves you, he would have sent an invitation, no? You are after all his father and mother. So he did not even send invitation. What kind of son is he? That means he does not remember you. And in this, in Narada, his job is this. He does this, spreading confusion, rumor. So then Nand Baba, when Mother Yashoda heard this, she became very sad. She was almost crying into tears. And Nand Baba saw Mother Yashoda is very much disturbed by this news. So in order to, show some sympathy to her and encourage her, Nand Baba told Mother Yashoda, don't be worried. I mean, this Narada, he does not know anything. Krishna is our son. A son never has to send an invitation to the father and mother that, it's my program, you come. They are invited already. Without sending an invitation, they are invited. So we are going, we don't need invitation. So we are going to this sacrifice. So Nand Baba said, Yashoda, pack up. Let's go. And when the whole Vrindavan came to know that Mother Yashoda and Nand Baba are going to Krishna, to meet Krishna in Prabhas Kshetra, they all said, we will also come. How can we stay behind? And it's such a beautiful description. Mother Yashoda and Nanda left. And behind them, who all left? The gopis went, the gopas went, the deers of Vrindavan, the monkeys of Vrindavan, the cows of Vrindavan, the peacocks of Vrindavan. And then Yamuna thought, what will I do alone here? If everyone is going, let me also go. So Yamuna also started moving in that direction. We all will go and meet Krishna. They walk and walk and walk, and for many days, meanwhile, the arrangements are made in Prabhashetra. And then now Narada goes to heaven and says, Indra, come on, let's go soon, soon. I'll show you Krishna's childhood pastime. But he said, you don't come in the scene, huh? You stay behind a bush and you hide from there and you watch the whole thing. Indra said, okay, no problem. So then they come to that place. All the arrangements are met. They reach that place, and then when Narada is there, the people welcome Narad Muni. Kamsa's mother comes, sister comes, Devaki also comes. And they said, Narad Muni, everything is all right? Are you happy? Is the arrangement good? Sacrifice is going to start soon. Narad said, well done, very good, Devaki, very good arrangement. That time Kamsa's mother asked Narad Muni, I hope you did not do what I asked you to not do. You did not do that. Narad Muni said, what? I told you not to inform the Vrajvasis. I hope you did that. You informed everyone, but did not inform the Vrajvasis. And then oh no, I forgot. I forgot that you told me not to inform. Actually, I informed them. I informed them what to do. So now Devaki said, oh mother, please don't mind. Let them come. They are not bad people. They're good people. Kamsa's mother said, no, nothing doing. I'll not let them inside. So she told her daughter, you stand on one side of the gate, I'll stand on the other side of the gate. And we'll not let this Vrajvasis inside this arena, this compound. We'll send them away from the gate itself. So they stood there with sticks in their hand. And the Vrajvasis came. They came. So Devaki was anyway there standing to welcome everyone. There the yajna has started. The priests are chanting mantras, swaha, swaha, a lot of sound, lot of noise is there. So many things are happening. Now, this was not a small yajna. There were thousands of people. It was like a mela, a fair. So there was so much of sound going on. So at the gate, this commotion is happening. Thousands and thousands of people have come from Vrindavan, but no one could understand that people have come. So now Kansa's mother and Kansa's sister at the gate, they block the passage. And they tell Mother Yashoda and Nanda, no entry. Praveshni said, you cannot go. Yashoda said, why? What wrong did I do? And Kamsa's mother said, what wrong? You did not tell. You did not do. You did not feed Krishna properly. You did not put slippers on Krishna's feet. You did not give Krishna an umbrella. You did not even give proper clothes to Krishna. So when he entered Mathura, he had to steal clothes. What kind of mother were you? You are not Krishna's mother. And when Mother Yashoda heard this, you can imagine. In this world also, if you tell a mother you are not the mother of this child, how bad she feels. And telling Mother Yashoda, who is the supreme mother, there cannot be a mother greater than her. There cannot be someone who has more motherly love than her. She is the mother of the Supreme Lord, who is the father of the universe. If you tell her she is not Krishna's mother, it's almost like killing her, giving her so much pain. And Mother Yashoda was in tears and said, what? Krishna is not my child? No, he's not your child. He's Devaki's child. You were just a nurse. You just took care of him. So at that time, Mother Yashoda became very sentimental, very full of emotions. And that time Narada said, okay, let's do one thing. There's a rift now, there's a confusion. Who is mother, who is not? So let me clear this. I am Guru, you all accept me as Guru, so let me clear this. So they said, okay, Narad Muni, you clear. So Narad Muni said, we'll do something now. Devaki is Krishna's mother, yes. Yashoda is Krishna's mother, yes. Now there's a confusion, who is the real mother, who is not? So what we will do is, a child is very dear to the mother, and mother is also very dear to the child. No child can forget the mother's love, care, compassion, kindness, everything. So Devaki and Yashoda, one by one, you call out Krishna. Call Krishna's name. And hearing whosever voice Krishna comes first, then that person is Krishna's real mother. Done. You have to just call out Krishna's name and let's see. Krishna is sitting in the yagya, is busy, is doing many things. Now, if a mother calls the child, and if the child is busy, then the child will say, "Mother, I am busy. Please wait for some time. Can't you see? I'm doing so many things now." So he'll not come. But if your love is very special, Krishna will leave everything and come. So that's why call. So Yashoda, you call. Devaki also said, yes, yes. Yashoda was elder to Devaki. So Devaki said, sister, my dear sister, Didi, you please call. And Kamsa's mother said, no, no, Devaki, you will call first. You should call first. So Devaki, you call. Devaki, helpless, she said, okay, let me try. And then she said, Krishna, 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 Krishna. She was shouting and shouting and shouting, but their yagya is going on, swaha, 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 swaha. Krishna is not hearing. Krishna is not hearing. Devaki became tired. And Devaki then told Yashoda, you try, maybe it will work. I tried, it did not work, you try. And then Mother Yashoda closed her eyes, and you all can also close your eyes. And then she called out. What she called out? She said, Kanu. You all can also call out. There's no harm, there's no crime and offense in calling out Krishna. So please call out. Close your eyes and call out. Kanu. And this way she was calling with so much of love. Krishna heard this. Of course, Krishna had heard from some people that Vrajavasis are around, but he did not get a confirmation. But when Krishna heard this, then Mother Yashoda is calling. Oh, Krishna could not resist. Krishna could not control. And at that time it is said that Krishna, who was putting ghee in the fire, swaha, swaha, that time the ladle from the hand of Krishna fell, the mukuta fell, the clothes dropped, and that old Krishna, young boy, young male form of Krishna, turned into a 4-year-old baby form of Krishna. And that Krishna started running towards the gate, and he ran and ran and ran and ran, and he then jumped into the lap of Mother Yashoda. At this point, Narad Muni turned to Kamsa's mother and said, so, who is Krishna's mother? Who is Krishna's mother? And Kamsa's mother could not say, of course, anything. This was a proof and evidence that who is Krishna's mother. At that time, Narad Muni also turned towards Indra, was standing behind the bush. So you saw Krishna's baby pastime. Did you see? I showed you Krishna's baby pastime. This is how special it is. And Indra was jumping with joy. And at that time, something very special happened. As soon as Krishna came into the lap of Mother Yashoda, her vatsalya, her parental affection for Krishna was so much overflowing, so much overflowing. The Acharyas explain at that place, at that, just right at that spot, on the lap of Mother Yashoda, Krishna was having Abhishek. How? You know, there's a place called Allahabad, it's called Triveni Sangam. Triveni means the place where 3 rivers come and they meet one another. Confluence of 3 rivers. So which are the 3 rivers? You know, Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, they come and meet there. So it is said that place, there is a temple of Lord Vishnu, and these 3 rivers, they bathe Lord Vishnu. They do Abhishek of Lord Vishnu at that place. So that lap of Mother Yashoda had become a Triveni, and Krishna was being, worshipped there by the ceremony of doing his Abhishek. And how was that? It is so sweet. This is the climax and is the most beautiful thing. When Krishna jumped into the lap of Mother Yashoda, immediately there were tears rolling down from the eyes and cheeks of Mother Yashoda. And because Mother Yashoda puts black kajal in her eyes, so this kajal was mixing with the tears, and this was making the color of the tears black. So this black water was falling on the body of Krishna. So this is like Yamuna. Yamuna is black in color. So this was Yamuna falling into Krishna's body. And then because of so much of Vatsalya in Mother Yashoda, milk started flowing from her breast, and milk is white in color. So Ganga is also whitish in color. So this milk was also falling on Krishna's body. So Ganga came, Yamuna came. Now what about Saraswati? In Triveni, in the place of Sangam, Saraswati is hidden. What we see on the surface is Ganga and Yamuna. Saraswati flows below them in a hidden way, below the bed of Ganga and Yamuna. So the Acharyas, they explain that the milk from Mother Yasoda's breast was Ganga, the tears mixed with kajal was Yamuna, and so much of love that was flowing in the heart of Mother Yashoda, which people could not see, which Kamsa's mother could not see, which others could not see. That love flowing in the heart of Mother Yashoda was Saraswati. And with these three rivers, Mother Yashoda was doing the bathing ceremony of Krishna. So this is how Narad Muni showed Vrindavan to Indra and also to all of us, today, by this beautiful pastime, showing us how Vrindavan and the worshippers of Vrindavan, the devotees of Vrindavan are most dear to Krishna. This is the glory of Narad Muni. With this, I stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, you can't just stop like this. You just did a Triveni Sangam of our hearts. You brought Krishna into our lives in a much jubilant way in this Kartik month. Frankly, myself, the last Kartik has already started last 3 days, but I was not feeling the freshness of Kartik. I think today's lecture of yours really brought back the spirit of Kartik, and the spirit of Kartik to love Krishna, to pray for Krishna, the little Krishna, the Damodar Krishna. Prabhuji, hearing your pastimes, I was thinking about how Prabhupada many times talked about the Paramatma thing and the Bhagwan thing, and the Brahman thing, right? And many times Prabhupada is very heavy when people they want to achieve Brahman. But hearing your pastimes, I was thinking how unfortunate are hearing the pastimes of Narad Muni and Krishna. How unfortunate are those sitting in Brahman and have no clue about all these stories of Narad Muni and Narayana and Krishna, and such a nectarian pastimes to hear and meditate, and how easy it is to fall in love with Krishna when we hear such pastimes. And Narad Muni speaking to Vishnu, Narayan, then doing this with Krishna, and the last pastime of how Yashoda Maya, literally brought tears into many of our eyes. I'm sure, when Krishna is running like a 4-year-old boy from the yajna to meet his mother, and how much it's very emotional and it's amazing. I'm so overwhelmed that how this happened that I felt like calling you. I don't know, maybe it is Krishna within my heart who inspired me to call you and say, Prabhuji, can you take a lecture in Kartik? I really wanted you to hear, we all to hear it, your lecture in the month of Kartik. And you being in Vrindavan agreed for it. I would have never done that because I have a big schedule. I have so many things to do. But being in Vrindavan like a satellite, you are passing on the glories of Vrindavan. And all of us, next time when we go to Govardhan, we will go to Narad Kund. We will not miss that. You've made it so special for us, where he wrote Narada Pancharatra, the Narada Bhakti Sutras, and so many things about Narad Muni, which unfortunately are misconceptions spread. Of course, after coming to ISKCON, we don't have such feelings toward Narad Muni, but unfortunately, many outside make a big joke of Narad Muni, in terms, even the movies, the Bollywood, Tollywood, whatever it is. So, so it's so beautiful to hear. And one more thing that you did today, Prabhuji, is you spoke about one Gopi's name called Madhavi, who invites Madhavi, and one more Gopi name you told, I forgot. They both of them invite Narad Muni to Kusum Sarovar to take the bath in the east corner, right? What corner is that, Prabhuji?
Southeast.
Southeast corner. So we all also will take a dip there. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of small minuscule glimpse of what Narad Muni received. So we have we have cows, as I told you in the past. We all are serving cows. We have a Goshala called Vaishnav Seva Kunj, and I always wonder what to name the next calf. And I'm running short of names now. And today you give a new name called Madhavi. So the next calf name we'll name it as Madhavi. And so Prabhuji, I have a request, that really what you told is what you spoke, we felt is really empowered through the whole parampara, the purity coming through your mouth and entering our ears and making us so much fall in love with Krishna yet once more. and the month of Kartik. So I have a request, Prabhuji, whenever possible, please give us a visit to Hyderabad, for a couple of days, and we want to hear from you whole Saturday and Sunday, if possible, in our Vaishnav Seva Kunj, from morning till night, and the next day, just hearing the pastimes of Krishna and getting more and more inspired to surrender to Krishna. If everybody else in the devotees here in Gachibowli Satsang like this idea, please request Prabhuji with three loudest Haribols.
Haribol.
So over to other devotees for reflections and questions for a few minutes. I'm sure Prabhuji has a schedule, so please, you can unmute if you're not speaking, but any questions or any reflections, Prabhuji and Matajis?
Not question, Prabhuji. Just asking Prabhuji. Those two books you mentioned beginning of the session, right? Can you repeat one more time, Prabhuji? Is it Dear Friend, and what is the other book, Prabhu?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mathura meeting.
The first book is, first is R. Srila Prabhupada, Dear Friend to All. It's written by Mula Prakriti Devi Dasi. So that's about Prabhupada. And the next is Mathura Meets Vrindavan.
Wonderful, Prabhuji.
That's by Sri Srimad Gaur Govind Sai Maharaj. Yes.
Thank you so much. And it seems you're reading all wonderful books, Prabhuji, and sharing with us. Thank you so much for your talk today, and very inspiring, and it develops it elevates our consciousness to understand Nardamani's pastimes. Thank you so much again. Dandavat pranams.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranam. Prabhuji, in the beginning, mentioned that Narad is at times called as Kalahapriya. I remember, when I was kid watching so many movies, he was called Kalahapriya. But is it written somewhere, Prabhuji?
Yeah, I mean, it might be there. I don't know now which Purana exactly it's written, but this can be written as something to glorify Narada. It's like a transcendental way of glorifying someone. Yeah. Kalahapriya, but in a transcendental way. So he's called like that. It's called like that. But people misunderstand because till the time we come to Krishna consciousness, we don't really know what is transcendental and what is material, isn't it? We don't have this clear understanding of what is transcendental, what is material. So they take it in a material way and we understand it in a transcendental way.
Got it. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yeah. Thank you for
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful lecture.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other questions or reflections?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one thing that I really liked is the point you made about one gopi making chapatis and looking at this black dot and completely forgetting about what she's doing and remembering Krishna and like making it black, and at the end meditating not so that she can forget Krishna. That is, I cannot even imagine that, Prabhu. That's like, how much elevated the gopis are in thinking about Krishna all the time and how fortunate they are, and that really struck me. And the way you narrated the whole different stories with so much of devotion. This is really a wonderful class, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for all the pastimes and the Kartik month, as Prabhuji said. Very nice. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Dandavat pranam. Prabhuji, just one question. Is there a reason why Devaki Mata could not able to enjoy childhood pastimes of Krishna? Is there a story? I mean, like why she missed the story? Why she missed the pastimes of Krishna, childhood pastimes?
Okay, thank you for that question. Actually, we should know one thing, that Devaki is the mother of Krishna, no doubt. But then Devaki does not have those feelings of a mother, the way Mother Yashoda, God has become her son. But for Yashoda, it doesn't matter whether Krishna is God. Krishna is her son. So there's a difference of love in the devotee's heart. Devaki, who is Devaki? We know from the history. They were Prishti and Sutapa who did austerities to get the Lord, as a child 3 times. And then the Lord came, isn't it? I'm sure you must be knowing that. So this is the 3rd time when Krishna is coming as a child. So Krishna is saying, in the past, I gave you this benediction, you'll have me as a child. So Krishna took birth from the womb of Devaki in one sense and manifested himself. So that's all Devaki desired. That's all was in the heart, the feelings of Devaki. Whereas Yashoda, she is eternal mother of Krishna. So her desires are at a different level. And Krishna says in Gita, Ye yathamam prapadyante, as you approach me, I fulfill the desires. So it's not that Devaki did something wrong and that's why she could not witness Krishna's childhood pastime. It is just her nature like that. If Krishna would have come as a child, say some long prayers to Krishna and then done some service to Krishna, she would never chastise Krishna. She would not do anything to Krishna. She would always think, oh, Krishna is God, not my child. In fact, even when Krishna went back to Mathura to rescue Devaki and Vasudeva from Kamsa, Devaki was praying to Krishna. And Krishna said, Mother, what are you doing? I'm your son. I'm not God for you. Don't pray to me. So Devaki, her mood of worship and devotion is that much. So it doesn't allow her to taste rasa beyond that. We should know one thing. Rasa, the tasting of any relationship or mellow with Krishna comes with adhikar. Adhikar means qualification. And when we don't have adhikar to experience some rasa, we will not be able to experience it. If Krishna is doing it, still will not experiencing it. So Devaki's Vatsalya is of lower level and Yashoda's Vatsalya is of higher level. And that's why Yashoda was qualified to experience those childhood pastimes of Krishna. Devaki was not. Devaki wasn't. That's the difference. Krishna wanted to do his Vrindavan pastimes and Devaki was not really qualified for that. So she was not shown all those things. It's a matter of qualification. I hope it answers your question, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you.
So one more. Sorry, one more, Prabhuji,
Okay,
and we'll wrap up.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there is.
Prabhuji, in your story, you have said that Kamsa's mom was angry on Brajavasis. And I also heard a story in which, once Krishna was calling in his sleep, gopis, and Balarama takes him to a mimic Vrindavan, which is created in his court. So in that context also, I have seen that, Kamsa's mom was very angry on Brajavasis. But Krishna is the one who killed Kamsa. So why is Kamsa's mom angry on Brajavasis rather than on Krishna?
Oh, nice question. Thank you. So actually, you see, all the people who are in Vrindavan Leela or Krishna's manifest pastimes, they even if they are acting like a demon, they are not demons. They are just facilitating Krishna's pastimes. They are playing either a positive role or a negative role. So Kamsa's mother, she is doing all this in order to flavor the pastime and make it more sweet. If there is a drama, and in drama you should have everything. You should have fight and you should have romance, anger, laughter. Then the drama becomes nice. So if there's no one to play a negative role, then it will be always like this only, very, very straightforward. So such people are planted, they are called staged, which means they do a negative role, but it's all planned. So Kamsa's mother is just doing that to facilitate Krishna's pastimes. When Krishna is in Vrindavan, this role is played by Radharani's mother-in-law and sister-in-law, Jatila and Kutila, right? And outside Vrindavan, This role is played by Kamsa's mother and Kamsa's sister. So they don't get angry when Kamsa was killed, because in fact, many of Kamsa's relatives did not like Kamsa. They hated Kamsa for what he was. Kamsa's own father did not like him. Only the demonic people, they liked Kamsa. So when Kamsa was killed, many of his family members were also very happy that after all, this person is killed, because they are devotees. They are not demons. So here we should not think that Kamsa's mother is a villain. She is not a villain. She is acting like that just to make the pastime very sweet.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mat.
Haribol, Haribol. So thank you, Prabhuji, for your time again. I don't know how to tell thank you for what you've done to us. You just made Karthik full blossoming in our lives. You know, the rest
I
of the
should
Karthik
say
will
thank you. I
remember.
got an opportunity to speak. So I should say thank you. Right. If I would not have spoken, you could have got someone else to speak.
No. This is
so that's
no, yeah, I often no, it's never like that. It's the Bhagavatam. It's the purity of Bhagavatam. It's a parampara of Srila Prabhupada, Brahma Madhva God Guru Sampradaya, and everybody who comes, you know, represents the sweetest aspect of Gaudiya Desh, right? The sweet nectarian pastimes. And I would like to personally thank Prabhuji. Whenever I look at you, I wish that my son becomes like you. You know, I have two sons, you know, and I really try to see his face in your face, you know, like, come on, I should have a son like you. I really congratulate and wish all the good for your parents who have begotten such a wonderful gift to this world, who is distributing this Krishna Katha. And I also pay my humble obeisances, deepest humble obeisance to your spiritual master. And every Siksha Guru who has inspired you to come in and deliver such nice Krishna Katha to the world. So I'm very, very grateful, Prabhuji. If I have spoken anything wrong, inappropriate, please forgive us. And please always accept our humble invitation to come. Because as I told previously, we live in a dry desert of skyscrapers of ego and you know, no Krishna Katha in this part of Hyderabad, which we call a high-tech city. You know, there's nothing happening here. There is no temple here. But when devotees like you come, the high-tech city becomes, you know, Vrindavan. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. Let us thank Prabhuji with 3 loud and enthusiastic Haribol so he can hear it near Kusum Sarovar in Vrindavan. Haribol! Haribol! Haribol!
Thank you so much, everyone. Wish you all a very, very happy Kartik. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prajan Mataji, thank you for joining yet another Bhagavatam class. Please join every Bhagavatam class, irrespective of the speaker, you know, because Bhagavatam is the sweetest. And please do also join today evening satsang in Praveen Prabhu's house, where we are discussing Ishopanishad. Some of you are not doing Bhakti Shastri can also join and learn Ishopanishad. It's just not for Bhakti Shastri students. So it starts at 2 o'clock and it goes on till 9 o'clock. Probably the longest satsang in the history of Gachibowli, right? 7-hour satsang. So don't miss it. Please come. You know where Praveen Prabhu and Somataji lives. You know, Trendset Wins, and you all can come and join us. So thank you very much. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari 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 Hare Krishna Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindubhyacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.